Okay, we continue our coverage now. The Senate Energy Committee's hearings on the Gulf oil spill. Joining us now, Representative Michael Burgess. He serves on the House Energy Committee and is the ranking member of the House Oversight and Investigations Subcommittee, which is holding its own hearing on the BP spill tomorrow. Congressman Burgess just returned from a tour of the Gulf region. Congressman, welcome to Bloomberg News. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me on.
Congressman, before we get into these hearings, I did mention you toured the Gulf region. What did you see? How bad is it?
Our primary focus last Friday was to look at the operations center. We did fly out over the Gulf to see the actual slick itself, and then finished up the day down at Hopewell, Louisiana, as preparations were being made to deploy the booms in anticipation of the oil slick coming ashore. So I guess the thing that impressed me the most was the degree of cooperation that's occurring between the Coast Guard and the industry at the command center in Robert, Louisiana. Boy, you just couldn't help but be impressed by the size of the oil on the water flying out over the Gulf. It looked like the state of Montana floating out there.
Congressman, Congressman, I'm sorry to interrupt, but might I ask, do the pictures that we're seeing do it justice?
Sure. No, it is an enormous, it's a spill of enormous proportions. And then, of course, the folks on the ground down at Hopewell who are doing their level best to deploy the booms and get out there with the absorbent material and the booms to prevent the oil from coming ashore. I mean, they are literally working their hearts out to protect their coastline.
Congressman, as we mentioned, hearings taking place some today, and also you'll be involved in hearings tomorrow. What do you want to hear from these oil industry executives?
Well, certainly the causation issue keeps getting left aside, and we have to hear about it. I know there are liability sensitivities out there, but at some point we're just going to have those discussions. I'm a little disappointed on our side of the Capitol that we're not having any of the regulatory agencies in. We're a little bit asymmetric in focusing just on the industry. Let's face it, this rig passed an inspection on April 1st and then blew up on April the 20th. There's a serious problem, I think, at the regulatory side as well.
What would you like to see done on the regulatory front?
I'm not certain if the proposals that we've heard about today, as far as splitting some of the regulatory and licensing aspects and inspection aspects of the Minerals and Management Service, will actually solve the problem. But quite honestly, that's what I'm interested about hearing. We have, we've got some very technically challenging activities going on in the Gulf, to the extent that we are using last century's technology for the oversight of those activities, and yet the drilling industry has progressed into the 21st century. There seems to be a disconnect there, and that's one that just simply has to be addressed if we're going to do this type of activity safely.
All right, and Congressman Burgess, we're going to ask your patience and ask you to wait with us through the commercial break, because I have a couple more questions for you, Congressman. Thanks so much for holding on. Let's take a quick check of the stock market right now before we go to break and see where those numbers have been panning out on this Tuesday. Stocks continue their climb. The Dow Industrial Average recovering from a 100-point drop. This is speculation a new British government will cut the UK budget deficit, ease concern that Europe's debt crisis will worsen. Look at the boards right now. NASDAQ leading the indices higher, up 0.75% at 2392. Dow Industrial's up 0.33%, 36 points at 10,821. S&P 500 is up 0.4% at 1,164. Stay with us. Bloomberg News continues in just a moment.
Let Standard Chartered's Forex expertise power your ambition. Let Standard Chartered's Forex expertise power your ambition.
Hey, who's our best presentation guy?
Carl.
I thought you said Carl was our best presentation guy.
Well, he is.
Last week, you told my team about FedEx Office print online for our presentations.
We upload it to FedEx Office, then they print, bind, and ship it. Presentation looks good, right?
Well, yes, but...
You didn't actually bring Carl with you.
Good morning. But I digress.
We understand you need presentations done right. And right now, save 20% on all online printing purchases. Visit FedEx.com/print.
New Edge, we work with you to help make your success a reality. What Korean Air is made of.
Excellence in flight. Korean Air.
I like loud music. My daughter just can't stand it. Sometimes I think the only person who really understands me is Gloria.
Welcome back to Bloomberg News. I'm Mark Crumpton in New York. You're looking at a live shot, Congressman or Senator Ron Wyden of Oregon, at that hearing today on Capitol Hill. Hearings into that BP oil disaster that took place in the Gulf of Mexico. Oil industry executives facing some tough questions from members of that Senate panel. We are back now with Congressman Michael Burgess. He serves on the House Energy Committee. He's the ranking member of the House Oversight and Investigation Subcommittee, which is holding its own hearing in the BP spill tomorrow. And Congressman Burgess, thank you so much for waiting through the commercial break. We appreciate it. Congressman, let's take a look forward. There's been a lot of talk right now about that offshore oil drilling. Is that now in peril because of what happened in the Gulf?
You know, right now the focus really has to be on containment of the spill and mitigation of the oil that's already escaped. There will be plenty of time to talk about the future of this activity. Clearly, there are some things on the regulatory side that are going to have to be improved. But, you know, we had the Exxon Valdez tragedy many years ago, and we still ship oil over the surface of the ocean. We haven't stopped that activity. I do want us to be careful and thoughtful in the process, but that also includes not coming to premature judgments on this.
Congressman, how can this region recover from that? Because you mentioned the Exxon Valdez spill. That was a generation ago, and Prince William Sound in that area in Alaska, they're still being impacted by that spill.
You know, the interconnectedness of the Louisiana Gulf Coast with the activities related to offshore drilling, a lot of their economic activity occurs because of the activity that's going on out in the Gulf. So in some ways, yes, this is an enormous human tragedy. 11 lives were lost on that rig, and we mustn't forget that. There is the imminent danger of that oil coming ashore and damaging those coastal wetlands. But if offshore drilling were to just suddenly cease tomorrow, the economic impact on that part of the world would be profound and it'd be extremely problematic. So we do have to be careful how we proceed in this and get the information and make the best decisions based upon that information.
All right, Congressman Michael Burgess, Republican from Texas, House Oversight Committee. His committee holding hearings tomorrow, and we'll watch for you then. Congressman, thank you so much for your time, and thanks for staying through the break. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Well,